Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
morning.
Elvira. Good morning, Sarf Omro, Aslidan. How are you?
Good morning.
Excellent.
Yeah, thanks.
Very good morning. Okay. So, have you watched that cartoon before
Yeah,
in Uzbek or in English?
in Uzbek.
In
Mm.
Uzbek. 10 years ago, maybe.
Not too long. This movie is very new.
It's not Nemo?
It is, but it is Finding Dory. The last one was the Finding Nemo, the first one.
In that way, I didn't see it.
Mm.
I don't see.
Yeah, you haven't.
Mm.
Today we're gonna start a new unit. Unit 9. Time for a story. Today we'll learn past perfect and to use it in narratives. Yani hikoyalarda aytib berishda qo'llaymiz. Joining sentences. Murakkab gaplarni qo'shishda. Feelings, hissiyotlar va exclamations. Hayajon gaplar. Now let's go to the starter first. Do you know these characters from English literature? I think that's not quite familiar.
Yes.
I also have very
Yeah.
little knowledge about that. Now we're going to read about Aesop's fables. You know what is fables?
Masal.
Oh yes, masala.
Misalchimi?
Yeah, definitely. So Aesop's fables are very famous and it has been translated into many languages. So we have one story, but so Aesop was a storyteller who lived in Greece in around 600 BC, before Christ BC, Southern Olden. So he lived in around 600 BC. Now let's go to grammar first. Then we'll check the fable. Online transcript. Now, let me. Okay. Past perfect. O'tgan mukammal zamon. Demak, o'tgan mukammal zamon had plus fe'llarga ed qo'shish bilan yasaladi yoki noto'g'ri fe'llarning uchinchi qatori bilan. Xuddi present perfect yasalgani kabi, faqat have hadga aylanadi, o'zgaradi. Masalan, I had arrived. Men yetib keldim. Yetib kelgandim. Yetib kelgan edim deb tarjima qilinadi. Bu yerda hadni qisqartirib I'd arrived deb aytadi. Xuddi present perfectda I've arrived qisqargan kabi, bu ham I'd arrived bo'ladi. Inkor esa yana not. I had not arrived. Lekin qisqartirganda I didn't bo'lmaydi. I hadn't bo'ladi. I hadn't arrived. You, he, she, they, it hadn't arrived. Hamma shaxsga bir xil. Va so'roqda yana have'ni o'tgan zamon oldinga chiqadi. Had I arrived? Had I left already? Allaqachon ketganmidim? Had she left already? Or had we left already? Yes, no questionga yes, I had. No, they hadn't. Deb javob beriladi. Ishlatilishi. Past perfect. O'tgan mukammal zamon is used to express an action in the past which happened before another action in the past. Demak, ikkalasi ham o'tgan zamonda bo'lgan, lekin bir harakatdan oldingi harakatni, oldin bo'lgan harakatni ifodalashda ishlatamiz. For instance, when I arrived at the theater, the play had already started. When I arrived at the theater, the play had already started. Nechta harakat bo'lyapti bu yerda? Two.
Two actions.
Yeah. The first is, let me. I arrived. Play had started. So which happened first?
The play had already started. The first.
This one happened first,
First
and this
happened,
one
yeah.
happened second. That's why the first action happened comes with present past perfect. Demak, birinchi sodir bo'lgan harakat past perfectga kelish kerak. Lekin tartibi almashishi mumkin. Masalan, the play had already started when I arrived at the theater. Okay, when I arrived at the theater, the play had already started. The same, but meaning is not. Demak, o'tgan zamonda bo'lgan harakatdan oldingi harakatni ifodalasak, past perfect ishlatamiz. Demak, past perfectni, past simple ni esa, ya'ni oddiy o'tgan zamonni actions in the order happened, they happened. Ya'ni harakatlar tartibda sodir bo'lsa, o'tgan zamonda ishlatamiz. Lekin mana bu ikkita zamon, ikkita harakat sodir bo'lgan desa, past perfect. Masalan, past simple'ga the bear went. Ikkinchi harakat esa the man came down from the tree. Ayiq ketgandan keyin odam daraxtdan tushdi. John left the party. I arrived. U ketdi, men keldim. They walked a long way. They were tired. Uzoq yo'l yurdi, ular charchadi. Endi xuddi shu narsani qanday past perfect deb ifodalashimiz mumkin? Birinchi action 2 kelyapti, keyin action 1. The man came down from the tree after the bear had gone. You see, had gone. So this happened first. The man came down from the tree after the bear had gone. Okay, when I arrived at the party, John had left. Demak, John birinchi ketdi, keyin men yetib keldim. They were tired because they'd walked a long way. Ular charchagandi chunki ancha yo'l yurishgan edi. Shuning uchun bu gan edi deb tarjima qildim. Masalan, ayiq ketgan, ayiq ketgandan keyin gan bilan to'g'ri tushadi demak. Now, okay. Then, if it's clear that one action was completed before, it isn't necessary to use the past perfect. Agar bir harakat undan oldin sodir bo'lgani o'zi ham shusiz aniq bo'lsa, past perfect shart emas deyapti. I tidied up after everyone went home. Men hamma narsani joylab qo'ydim, to'g'rilab qo'ydim. Tidy up. Taxlab qo'ydim, ya'ni saranjom qildim. After everyone went home. Hamma uyga ketgandan keyin. I tidied up after everyone had gone home. Mana bu sal strange bo'lyapti. Demak, harakat shusiz ham aniq bo'lsa, past perfect uncha shart emas. Lekin qo'llash ham noto'g'rilikni bildirmaydi. They all true. They both true. They are both true. Next rule is conjunctions. Conjunctions. Conjunctions are words that join sentences. Yani so gaplarni bir-biriga bog'lovchilar. We use conjunctions to join sentences. Simple. Ular juda kam, lekin very useful, especially when speaking, writing. It goes very smoothly. Juda silliq voqealar davom etishi mumkin agar shuni ishlata olsak. When, while, as soon as, after, before, as, va, until. Bular bog'lovchilar. Masalan, when nimanidir paytida ishlatiladi. O'zi so'zidan ma'lum. While ikkita harakat bir vaqtda bo'layotganda, ya'ni nimadir bo'layotganda nimadir bo'ldi. As soon as shu zahot, as soon as nimadir bo'lishi bilanoq, after dan keyin, before dan oldin, as nimadir bo'lganligi uchun, as, va until gacha yoki nimadir bo'lmaguncha bular ishlatiladi. They can go in two places in the sentence. Bular gapni ikki tarafida kelishi mumkin. First, when I arrived home, Tom was cooking the meal. Boshda keldi. Tom was talking to me. They can go in two places in the sentence. When I arrived home, Tom was cooking the meal. Tom was cooking the meal when I arrived home. Mana buni aytyapti. Ikki joyda kelishi mumkin. Ya'ni o'rnini almashtirishlari mumkin ikkita gapni. Yoki Tom was cooking the meal when I arrived. When I arrived, Tom was cooking the meal. Bu yerda qaysini birinchi urg'u berilganda o'shani aytamiz. Masalan, when I arrived, men kelganimga urg'u beryapman. Tom was cooking the meal. Yoki Tom was cooking the meal when I arrived. Demak, birinchi ishlatgan gap ma'no kuchliligini ifodalaydi. Ikkinchisidan. And Tom was talking to me while he was cooking the meal. Ovqat pishirayotganda men bilan gaplashyapti. Demak, birida ketma-ket sodir bo'ldi. Mana bunda ikkalasi ham ovqat pishiryapti, ham gaplashyapti. Yoki as soon as I arrived home, Tom started cooking the meal. Endi bunda men kelganimdan keyin Tom pishirishni boshladi. Kelishim bilanoq, as soon as I arrived, kelishim bilanoq. Demak, ma'no o'zgaryapti, lekin gaplar bir xil. Tom cooked the meal after I arrived, yoki after I'd arrived home. Men kelganimdan keyin ovqatni pishirdi Tom. Keyin ma'nolarga bir qarab chiqasizlar. Very useful. And before, after bilan bir xil, faqat ma'no. He had cooked the meal before I arrived home. Men endi bu yerda kelishimdan oldin ovqatni pishirdi. As he was talking, I was thinking about the last time we'd met. U gapirayotgan paytda. Menda whenga yaqinroq, lekin as he was talking, u gapirayotganda paytda. I was thinking about the last time we'd met. Whendan farqi when o'tib ketdi. Lekin mana as hali davom etyapti. As he was talking, I was thinking. Demak, ikkalasi ham bir vaqtda sodir bo'lyapti. U gapirayotgan paytda men uchrashganmizmi oxirgi marta deb o'ylayotgandim. And he didn't start cooking the meal Sorry.
Hello.
Sorry. I muted all, but muted myself as well.
Yeah.
So natija bog'lovchisi. Ya'ni oqibatda nimadir bo'ldi. He was bored va oqibatda he went for a walk. Keyin sayrga chiqib ketdi. Lekin because sabab bog'lovchisi. He went for a walk because he was bored. U sayrga chiqdi chunki zerikkandi. U sayrga chiqdi u zerikkanligi uchun zerikkanidan keyin sayrga chiqdi. Birida result, one is reason. But that's not so complicated. But when you look first time, these words can be complicated. But when you use it, it's not. We still use it, but we don't know. Too deep. And but va although contrasting ideaslarni bog'laydi, ya'ni bir-biriga zid g'oyalarni bog'laydi. But although it was raining, but we played tennis. Although it was raining, we played tennis. Yomg'ir yog'ayotgan bo'lsa ham, we played tennis. Demak, although gap boshida keladi. We played tennis. And the last but not least, so, such, so many, so much. So plus adjective adverb. So'dan keyin fe'l ham, ravish ham kelishi mumkin. I was so scared. Shunchalar ham qo'rqqandim. Shunchalar qo'rqdim. Shunchalar deb tarjima qilinadi. I was so scared. He always drives so fast. U har doim shunaqa tez haydaydi. Lekin such a adjective yoki birlik ot kelishi mumkin. Suchdan keyin sifat qo'shilgan ot birlikda. Chunki kelyapti, such a. She's such a nice person. U shunaqangi yaxshi odam, shunaqangi, shunchalar deb tarjima qiladi. So she's such a nice person. Yoki buni ko'plik shakli such adjective sifat va pluralda kelishi mumkin. The Smiths are such friendly neighbors. Smithlar shunaqangi mehmondo'st, samimiy odam, qo'shnilar. So many noun, plural noun kelganda shunchalar ko'p, shunchalar ko'p. Some children have so many toys, so many toys. So much in the uncountable nounlarga ishlatiladi. Sanalmaydiganlarga. Footballers earn so much money these days. Yes, they do. And when we use it, so and such are used for emphasizing an adjective or a noun, just to emphasize, urg'u berish uchun. They are used more in spoken than in written English. Yes, writtenda ishlatilmaydi. Especially in IELTS, never use it. Uni o'rniga academic so'zlar ishlatiladi. They are often exclamations, ya'ni undov, nima edi? Sayojon so'zlar with an exclamation mark va oxirida undov so'z qo'yiladi, undov belgisi. He works so hard. Mana undovligini bildirib. He works so hard. It's stronger than he works very hard. Very harddan kuchliroq. He works so hard. He works very hard. And that's it for vocabulary today. I'm sorry, for grammar. Now we are going to read about Aesop's fables, and you can read the story and tell us what's the moral. Qissadan hissa, moral. True friends are hard to find. Choose your friends carefully, or don't run away from danger. Let's read. It looks so interesting. You can read silently and we'll discuss it.
Okay.
Now you can unmute your audio if you have finished. So have you finished?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Now can you tell me the moral of the story? What's the moral?
I think the moral of this story is choose your friends carefully.
Yeah, definitely. Choose your friends carefully. Who does not leave you in dangerous situations alone.
Yes.
Yeah, Aesop's fables are very meaningful, full of meaning. So here, put the lines in one of the places in the story. Okay. We were supposed to put them in the story, but we cannot move one from one page to the next page, so we're going to listen. 9.2.
Tape script 9.2. The Bear and the Travellers.
Two travellers were walking slowly along a country road. They were going to the city because they were looking for work. They were tired because they had walked 20 miles, and they were hungry because they hadn't eaten all day. Suddenly, in the woods in front of them, they saw a huge bear. The men were terrified. One of them ran away, climbed a tree, and hid. The other man fell to the ground and pretended to be dead. He had heard that bears don't like eating dead meat. The bear came towards him. It bent down, sniffed him, and whispered something in his ear. Then it wandered away. After the bear had gone, the other man came down from his tree and went to see how his friend was. He wanted to know what the bear had said to him. "The bear gave me some advice," said his companion. "He said, next time you go on a journey, travel with someone who won't leave you at the first sign of danger." The moral of this story is, choose your friends carefully.
That's it. So you see, bo'shliqlar o'rniga past perfect ishlatildi. Because they had walked 20 miles, shuning uchun charchagandi. He wanted to know what the bear had said to him when he sniffed. And because they hadn't eaten all day, yemagan edi hech narsa, demak, this is the past before one past. But this is the first past. Demak, shunga e'tibor beramiz. Very interesting. Here are some questions for you to use in the past perfect about the story again. So, why were the travelers tired? Zarfon.
Because they had walked a long way.
All the way, maybe.
Yes.
Perfect. Here it says, because they had walked 20 miles.
20 miles. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. True. And why were they hungry, Aslidan? Why were they hungry? Why were they hungry?
Because they're not eating anything.
Past perfect.
They hadn't eaten anything.
Perfect. And Indira, why did one of them pretend to be dead? Pretend to be dead? Nima degani?
O'zini o'lganga sanab.
Yep. Why did one of them pretend to be dead? Ozoda tayyor turing, keyingi savol. Nimaga o'zini o'lganga soldi? Because
Because it did what
he had heard that
Don't like eating the
bears don't like eating dead meat. They're good. Ozoda, when did other man come? When did other man come down from the tree? When
When
did the man come down from the tree? Daraxtdan qachon tushdi?
he saw bear whispered his friend.
Definitely.
He
No,
understood they are friends.
After.
After the bear had gone, ayiq ketgandan keyin the man came down from the tree. See? The man came down from the tree after the bear had gone. Ayiq ketgandan keyin keldi. Let's say, okay. And what did he want to know? Zarf Umro? What did he want to know?
He
Ayiq nima deb pichirlaganini bilishdi. xoh.
Yes.
yeah,
For you to help
not remember. Yeah.
he wanted.
He wanted to know what the bear had said to him.
Definitely.
To know what the bear had said.
Tape script 9.3. Questions and answers. 1.
Why were the travellers tired?
Because they had walked 20 miles.
2.
Why were they hungry?
Because they hadn't eaten all day.
3.
Why did one of them pretend to be dead?
Because he had heard that bears don't like eating dead meat.
4.
When did the other man come down from the tree?
After the bear had gone.
5.
What did he want to know?
He wanted to know what the bear had said to his friend.
The contraction the can be difficult to hear. Listen to the sentences, put a tick if you hear the. So, qalamchani ishlata oladiganlar bormi?
Yes.
Okay. Qalamchada, okay. So, the qisqartirib ishlatilgan joylari bor. Eshitgan joylaringda you can put tick. 9.4.
Tape script 9.4. Pronunciation. 1.
1.
They'd walked 20 miles.
2.
One man hid in a tree.
3.
The other pretended to be dead.
4.
When the bear had gone, the man came down.
5.
He felt bad because he'd left his friend.
So there are 2 mistakes you have done. I think Aslan in 3 they didn't say. Did they? And in 4 they said already. Wait. Oh, let's listen again.
3.
The other pretended to be dead.
4.
Pretended. Past
When the
simple.
bear had gone, the man came down.
Bear had gone. Had gone.
5.
He felt bad because he'd left his friend.
So only bittada yo'qmidi? Yes. Only 1 is empty. How about number 2 is also. Good job. Indira, Aslan. Others as well. Let's discuss grammar. First, when I arrived, she cooked dinner. When I arrived, she was cooking dinner. When I arrived, she'd cooked dinner. What's the difference? What is the difference?
The first sentence, actions actions be turn by turn.
Action happened in order. After he arrived, then he cooked, right? She cooked. And the second?
The second, one action was happening.
Same
Past
time.
continuous.
One action.
Yeah, when action happened, when one's action happened, another action was going on. And 3?
One action happened, another action
Happened
already
after that.
happened.
No. Happened before the next action.
Yes.
That's just simply past perfect. So, Zarf Khomro, Aslidan, Indira, and Ozode. Go, let's read.
She spoke good French because she lived in France.
She spoke.
And she spoke good French because she had lived in France.
3.
I listened to music while I did my homework. I listened to music when I done my homework.
So,
When I
4.
when I got home, the children went to bed. When I got home, the children had gone to bed.
She gave me a book, so I read it. She gave me a book, but I read it.
Who read note كان زمان read. يوصل فرق من read. So she gave me a book. So
I read it.
She gave me a book, but I'd read it. That's quite interesting. So what's the difference?
The first question, after taking a book, I read the second sentence. I've already
read it. When she gave me, I have already read that book. So very interesting meaning. Can be expressed by past perfect. This is a matching exercise, but I want you to just listen and
Tape script 9.5.
if you can, with your pencil.
1.
I was nervous on the plane because I'd never flown before.
2.
When I'd had breakfast, I went to work.
3.
I met a girl at a party. Her face was familiar. I was sure I'd seen her somewhere before.
4.
I felt tired all day yesterday because I hadn't slept the night before.
5.
My wife was angry with me because I'd forgotten our anniversary.
6.
The little girl was crying because she'd fallen over and hurt herself.
4 man. Nice. They also using past perfect here. Today is a story day. Now you are given another story, another fables of Aesop's. So, I don't show you the story first, but you can make up a story by just looking at the pictures. We have 4 people, if I'm not mistaken. Zarf Hombro, Indira, second, Aslidan, the 4th picture, and Ozode. Let's try to make up a story just from the pictures. Can you make that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Here's picture.
Which picture? That was a picture. So picture 1, 2, 3, 4. Zarxon bro, Indira, Aslidan, and Ozoda. Just look through and you can make up a very interesting story. Make it more sentences or make it just one sentence. While, because, as soon as, so, but, after, before. You can use them if you like. Now, can you make? I don't know about you, but I think I could make up a very interesting story. But I want to listen from you. I want to listen to you. Zarf Homro?
Okay. There was a boy and he
Yeah, he was just looking after his sheep
sheep
in
yeah,
the village, near the village.
in the village, yeah, and
Second is for Indira. Indira?
Hmm.
He was looking after his sheep in the village.
Mine
And-
is
Hmm?
2.
Yeah, 2. Picture 2.
Uh,
Can you help him? Can you help her?
I think he was shouting wolf.
Yeah, he was shouting that wolf is coming, wolf is coming. And
I
what
should
happened?
make a story.
Yes, you do.
Okay. One day, when workers were working in the field, one boy screamed that wolf is coming.
Okay. Aslidan?
And the other persons looking for wolves and in front of the tree, the boy was laughing.
Yeah, he was laughing.
Maybe he was lying.
Okay, let's leave it for Ozoda. Ozoda, can you finish up the story?
The shepherd was sorry for dying of his sheep.
Yeah. Yeah, as Aslidan said, maybe he was telling a lie, he was joking, or he was making fun of people, but at the end, maybe he lost his own shape.
It became real.
Yeah.
Inglescha.
Yeah. When I was in the first year at school, we had also the same story like this. Kimdir yells always like telling lie, and once his house was burning in fire, nobody believed him, and he lost his house. Do you remember that story?
Yes.
Yeah, Alisher now I wrote this story, I think.
Ah, yes. It was birinchi sinf o'qish kitobida, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
All right. Now you can read the full story. And we can make up question later on. So start. By the way, you should choose which of them is used. For example, there are two, while or because, so yoki but, as soon as yoki until. You should choose one of them. Tagga chizishlaring mumkin. Have you finished?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
So, what do you think is the moral of the story? There isn't. You should say according to the text. I think there isn't moral anywhere. But I'm just asking personal. What do you think is the moral?
Never lie your life, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, never lie in your speech.
And
yeah. Okay. It's advised that to not lie even if you are joking. Hazırlayın daham aldama dedi. Okay. That's why. He was the victim of his lie. yolg'onining qurboni bo'ldi. By the way, I wanted to check. Let's check which one to use.
9.6. The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Once upon a time, there was a shepherd boy who looked after the sheep in the hills near his village. He thought his job was very boring. One day, while he was sitting under a tree, he had an idea. He decided to have some fun. So he went down to the village and shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" at the top of his voice. As soon as the villagers heard the boy, they stopped work and raced to the hills to help him. But when they got there, they saw nothing. They returned to their work. After they'd gone, the shepherd boy smiled to himself. A few days later, the boy did the same thing again. He ran into the village and shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" The villagers didn't know whether to believe him or not, but they were worried about their sheep, so they had to help him. They went back to the hills. Again, there was no wolf. They were angry because the shepherd boy had lied again. But he just laughed. Then, the next day, just as the sun was setting, a wolf really did appear, and it began attacking the sheep. In terror, the boy raced down the hill to the village, shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" Although the villagers heard his cries, they did nothing to help. This time they really didn't believe him. The shepherd boy climbed back up the hill to look for the sheep, but the wolf had killed them all. He was so ashamed of himself that he sat down in the moonlight and cried. The moral: should not lie. A liar will not be believed. He night and cried. The moral of this story is, you should not lie. A liar will not be believed, even when he tells the truth.
So the moral is,
You shouldn't lie.
You shouldn't
and
lie.
the liar,
Because for liars, no one believes them when they tell the truth.
the liar should not believed, even if he tells the truth. Let's put the usage of although, so, or because in the sentence. They didn't find the wolf.
So
They went back to work.
So they went back to work. 2. They helped the boy.
Because they were worried about their sheep.
Because they were worried about their sheep. 3.
although they heard his cries, they didn't do anything to help.
That's it. Now, can you make this story again using these prompts? Using these notes. For example, the same. For ظرف رو Indira and also this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can start.
Once upon a time, there was a shepherd boy who looked after his sheep. One day he was bored. And he had an idea.
Yes. Indira.
After that, he ran to the village and shouted to workers. As soon as the man shouting
Arrived.
When
the men, as soon as the men arrived, they didn't see anything.
Yes.
And Yoki, there was nothing. And the boy smiled.
Himself.
Smiled to himself. Aslidan?
A few days later, he did same thing again, and he shouted, "Wolf!" And the man was angry by.
Okay.
The man was angry and he laughed himself. The next day, a wolf truly came and attacked his sheep.
And also
This time they didn't believe him, so climbed back, and wolf was killed. Killed his sheep, and he ashamed and cried.
He ashamed himself and cried. All right. Let's go to grammar. Discussing grammar. We should join the sentence using conjunctions. Put one verb in the past perfect. One. Here are the words, and we should join them with them. For example, I did my homework when I went to bed.
I had done my homework before I went to bed.
Perfect. Yes. Put one verb in the past perfect. I think you should use it past perfect, yes, but with these verbs here. Only goes here, okay? So can you try again, Ozoda?
When I had done my homework, when I went to bed.
When I had done my homework, I went to bed.
Yes.
You see? So you can put here. Because I'm qilgandan keyin qilganimda uyquga ketdim. 2. Zarf bro.
I stopped for coffee after I had driven 200 miles.
After I drove 100 miles.
After I driven 200 miles, I stopped for a coffee.
I think the same, yeah. He just changed the sentence. Meaning is the same. After I'd driven 200 miles, I stopped for a coffee, and he said, I stopped for a coffee after I'd driven 200 miles. The same. Perfect. Indira.
As soon as she had passed her driving test, she bought a car.
Perfect. Aslan?
And until I hadn't gone to Italy, I learned Italian.
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 So you said, until I hadn't gone to Italy, I learned Italian dediniz mi?
Yeah.
Some kind of strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can use like this. Until I had learned Italian, I didn't go to Italy.
Yep.
Italyanchani o'rganmagunimcha Italiyaga bormadim. Yoki Italiyaga bormagunimcha italyanchani o'rganmadim. Mana bu yerda o'rganmadim bo'lganda gap to'g'ri chiqardi. Shuning uchun this one is true. Like, until I had learned Italian, I didn't go to Italy. And we can check later. Solishtiramiz keyin. 5. And also again.
Although I read the book, I didn't understand the film.
Although I'd read the book,
I read the book, I didn't
I didn't understand the film. It happens. Sarfomro.
His mother his mother sent him to bed because he had been naughty.
Excellent. Indira.
She had burned the food, so we went out to eat.
Yes. And last, Aslan. Aslan, she cooked a lovely supper.
She cooked a lovely supper. She had cooked a lovely supper, but unfortunately, I ate a large lunch.
She had cooked us a lovely supper. Unfortunately, I ate a large lunch. Yes, but unfortunately, but unfortunately, I ate no. Something is strange again. Do you have any other ideas? Aslan, can you repeat your sentence?
She had cooked a lovely supper, but unfortunately, I ate a large lunch.
The meaning is like kind of strange here.
Unfortunately, I ate a large lunch, but she cooked a lovely. It's very strange, yeah.
The same. The same. You should just change the meaning in the sentence. Change the tense. So past perfect should be used here. She cooked a lovely supper, but unfortunately,
I had eaten a large lunch.
The meaning is clear now, right?
Yeah.
Chunki u zo'r ovqat pishirgan bo'lsa ham men obedda rosa to'yib ovqatlangandim demoqchi. That's it. Another exercise, then we're going to move to listening task after your and let's put the words to join sentences. 1. Boyagi tartibda. Who was first?
Ozoda.
Yes,
When I
Ozoda. When I got home.
When I got home, I checked my emails.
Excellent. 2. Indira.
I cut myself while I was shaving.
Yes. 3. Zarf Khomro.
He worked was the same company until he retired.
Yes. Aslidan.
I got out of bed as soon as I woke up.
Okay. 5.
She was
Ozoda.
thinking about her father until she was going to work.
No, I think you should change. I'm afraid you should change. So again, try again.
She was thinking about her father as she was going to work. Ketayotgan
Yeah,
paytda
otasi haqida
o'yladi.
o'ylab ketyapti.
Demoqchiman. Men
Indira.
ishga yetib oldim.
It's okay. Indira.
Before I went to bed, I locked all the doors.
Yeah. Zarf Khomro.
After I left school, I lived abroad for a year. Savol bor edi-da. I have a question.
Okay.
Bu after before'lar bilan perfect mana conjunctionlar bilan perfect ishlatdik-ku bitta ish harakatda. Bu yerda o'zi ikkalasini ham past simple bo'lyapti. Shuni qana ajratamiz?
Bu yerda boya aytdik-ku, ma'nosi siz ham clear bo'lib tursa, past perfect ishlatish shart emas degan.
Ha. Ikkalasi ham to'g'ri bo'ladi.
Yeah, both are correct. Lekin ba'zida ma'no chiqmay qolishi mumkin. Ayniqsa mana bularda. Tepada ko'rdik-ku. Bularda ma'noda juda slight difference bor. Shuning uchun bu yerda perfect ishlatildi. Mana bu yerda agar qarang. She cooked a lovely supper. Unfortunately, I ate a large lunch. Sal o'xshamayapti. Lekin ma'no kelyapti. Lekin mana bu yerda perfect ishlatsak, to'liq tushunsak bo'ladi. She cooked a lovely supper. Unfortunately, I had eaten a large lunch. Mana bu yerda ma'no aniq. Agar bunda ikkovini ham past ishlatsak, chigaliroq bo'lib qoladi. Lekin mana bu yerda past ishlatsak, the same, ma'no o'zgarmaydi. Shunda. Shuning uchun boyagi qoidaga misol keltiryapti-da bu. Ya'ni ma'nosi ham aniq bo'lsa, past simple is okay. Ko'pincha past perfect urg'u beradi. Ya'ni bir harakatdan oldin bo'lgan deb urg'u beradi. Qolgan paytda urg'u berish uncha zarur bo'lmasa, past ketaveradi. Past simple, just past simple in 2 sentences. Now let's use your ideas. Hey, by the way, we didn't listen to this. 9.7. Maybe there is difference.
Tape script 9.7. Discussing grammar. 1.
When I'd done my homework, I went to bed.
2.
After I'd driven 200 miles, I stopped for a coffee.
3.
As soon as she'd passed her driving test, she bought a car.
4.
I didn't go to Italy until I'd learned Italian.
5.
Although I'd read the book, I didn't understand the film.
6.
His mother sent him to bed because he'd been naughty.
7. She'd burnt the food, so we went out to eat. 8.
She cooked a lovely supper, but unfortunately, I'd eaten a large lunch.
All is the same. And let's do this one very quickly. You can continue the sentence. You can
we
make up
enjoyed-
any sentence.
We
No,
enjoyed the holiday, although we hadn't gone anywhere.
we enjoyed the holiday, although we hadn't gone anywhere. Yes, why not? 2.
As I sat on the plane, I felt nervous because it was first time.
You should actually, bu yerda berishni sababi, you should use past perfect here.
Because
Oldin uchmaganman deb ko'ring.
I hadn't been before.
Flown. I hadn't flown. Fly, flew, flown, right? I hadn't flown on the plane before. That's it. Before I hadn't flown on the plane. 3. Zarf Homro.
I lived in Sweden for a year, but I hadn't learned
Swedish language.
Swedish. Yeah, I hadn't learned Swedish.
Okay. Aslidan.
I met my wife while I had come my home.
I met my wife while I had come home.
Continuous bo'lishi kerak emasmi bu yerda?
While I was coming my home.
While I was coming my home, I had my wife. Okay. 5.
I wanted to get fit, so I decided to go fitness club.
I wanted to get fit. I had decided. No, the meaning is quite strange here. Chunki
Before he wanted, then he did it.
Past perfect ishlatish shart emasmi?
ishlatish kerak aslida. Hozir mana Aslidanning gapiga o'ylanib qoldim. Keyin qaraymiz. So I want to get fit. Ya'ni o'zim qomatimni yaxshilamoqchi edim. So I had bought, you can say, I had bought several equipments desangiz bo'ladi. Asbob uskunalar sotib oldim. Demak, undan oldin sotib olganini bildiryapti. See, I had bought. 6.
My phone rang just as I had opened the door.
Okay. 7.
Although I didn't feel well, I had gone to work.
Wow, perfect. 8.
We watched TV until we'd gone to bed. Gone to bed.
Perfect. We watched TV until we'd gone to bed. This sentence makes me think again. I met my wife while. You can use past perfect again. Here. I met my wife while I had worked in the factory. Zavodda ishlaganimda xotinimni uchratganman. Demak, avval ishlagan, keyin uchratgan. That's okay here. Bu yerda davomini qo'llasak ham noto'g'ri bo'lmaydi. Endi bu yoqda perfectni ishlatib ko'ringlar deyapti. Here is my favorite writer for listening and speaking. Oh, Charles Dickens. Oh, very great writer. So, my favorite writer. What do you know about the writer Charles Dickens? You can use this sentence. Who knows about? Was he American, Scottish, or English?
I think he was English.
English.
Ah, Charles Dickens. Yeah, he's English. It means that he's from Great Britain. And in what century he wrote his works, masterpieces?
20s.
Okay, let's say 20s. And he wrote about the aristocracy, boiler, adventurers, or ordinary people.
Adventurous.
I think, okay, adventures, you say. Now listen to part 1 of a radio program. Check your answers to exercise 1. And read the information about Dickens in the chart. Jadvaldagi Dickens haqidagi ma'lumotlar o'qib ko'rasizlar. Some of it's wrong, so we should correct them. Charles Dickens. 9.8.
Tape script 9.8. My favourite writer.
Tom, you chose Charles Dickens as your favourite writer. Can you tell us a little about him? When was he alive?
He wrote in the 19th century. He was born in England in 1812 and died in 1870.
What did he write? What sort of books?
He wrote novels and short stories.
And tell us, why is he famous?
At the time he was writing, there was a lot of inequality between the rich and the poor. Dickens wanted to change society. He wrote about people who were poor and hungry or ill, or who were unfortunate in some way. Dickens created some of the most famous characters in English literature.
What are his best-known books?
There are quite a few, but possibly David Copperfield, which has a lot of autobiography in it, and Oliver Twist, and after that, A Christmas Carol. In this book, we meet a character called Scrooge.
Ah, the man who hated Christmas.
That's right. At the beginning of the story, Scrooge is a miserable character who refuses to spend any money to help his poor family. But by the end, he is a changed man, kind, generous, and full of love for people around him.
What was Dickens' personal life like?
A mix of good and bad. His parents were poor. Dickens became very rich. He married and had 10 children.
10?
Yes, but he left his wife because he fell in love with an actress. He didn't get divorced. In those days, it was impossible, absolutely out of the question. So there was a lot of sadness in his life.
Oh dear. Poor Mr. Dickens.
Poor Mr. Dickens. So there are quite a lot of mistakes. So he didn't live in the 20th century, or he did?
19th century.
Sorry, 19th century. That's true, right?
No.
No.
It says 20. Meni ko'zimga 90 ko'rinib, sorry. I thought it was 90. And did he write poetry?
No, short.
He wrote novels.
Novels and stories. And
stories, yeah.
reasons for her success, for his successes.
Wrote about rich and poor people.
He wrote about ordinary people.
Ordinary
Poor
people, poor people.
Yeah.
And his best known books.
David
Oliver
Copperfield,
Twist, A
Oliver
Christmas-
Twist,
And all
and
the
A
Swiss.
Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol. Actually, I have watched Oliver Twist, a movie shot by English producers, but I didn't understand the word in that sentence because it's old language and it's British. Maybe now I can understand because I watched it when I was first or second year at university. I knew very little English then. And it tells very disgusting stories about the life in the UK. They were so poor. Kids were on the street asking for food, robbing for food. I think you should watch it to imagine the life in that century. And best known characters?
Scrooge is a miserable man.
Is a miserable. And he becomes later a happy man. Like he didn't like people, but he becomes later on kind, sociable, and very changes in beyond recognition. What about his personal life?
Married and he didn't
He
divorce.
married and he had
He had 10 children.
And
He had 10 children.
he
Yeah.
left his wife.
Yeah, he left his wife. Such a man. Now we're going to listen about another writer, Robert Louis Stevenson. To be honest, I have not heard about him. Let me listen again.
Tape script 9.9. My favorite...
And you can check the same information here. And remember.
writer.
Now, Alice, you chose Robert Louis Stevenson. Tell us about him. When was he writing?
Well, he was born in 1850 and he died in 1894, so he was writing just after Dickens, in the second half of the 19th century.
And what did he write?
He wrote novels and poetry, and he died.
When was he writing?
Well, he was born in 1850 and he died in 1894, so he was writing just after Dickens, in the second half of the 19th century.
And what did he write?
He wrote novels and poetry, and he was also a travel writer.
Oh, quite a lot. Tell us, why is he famous?
Well, he isn't as famous as Dickens, but he's very popular because he's a great storyteller. His stories are about adventure, danger, and horror. His heroes are pure, and his villains are dark.
What are his best-known books?
There's a children's book called Treasure Island, and there's a travel story about going around France, but the most famous is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
And they, I suppose, are his most well-known characters.
Yes, the book was an immediate success. It's about a man who has two sides to his character, one good and one bad. The man, Dr. Jekyll, has a battle inside himself between his good side and his evil side.
This is the psychological idea of someone with a split personality?
Yes, in everyday speech we say about someone, "Oh, he's a real Jekyll and Hyde," meaning there are two sides to their personality.
Fascinating. Tell us about his personal life.
As a child, he was often ill. He married an American woman who had children from an earlier marriage, but they didn't have any children together. He travelled a lot to Europe and the United States. He died very young, when he was just 44.
Oh, well, thank you, Alice, for telling us about Robert Louis Stevenson.
I think you could grasp many information here.
Yeah.
didn't you? Oh, couldn't you? Sorry. And let's discuss, then we'll finish this lesson for today. What are we going to discuss is, what was the last book you read and what was it about? I think we should leave it for homework because you should prepare it beforehand. So think about a book you have read and tell us about everything. Who wrote it, about the person who wrote, his life and his characters in the book, and the ending of the book and the moral of the book, and what it can give for people. So this is for you as a home task.
Okay.
All right. And that's the end of the lesson for today. But let me leave the reading part for you again, because it tells very many stories, but we can discuss it. The strange case. Jinoyatni tadqiq qilish. G'alati bir jinoyat, ya'ni case. Ish. So reading is also for you. Then we'll make the speaking according to the reading. So I'll count the home task. Home task is until reading from workbook, vocabulary after reading, vocabulary readingdan keyingi vocabularylar, ya'ni boyagi kichkina kitobchadagi. Then what else? And you can make the shadowing about the life of these writers. And the story again, you see?
Okay.
There are 2 stories and 2 writers. You can pick up any 2 of them, not one, any 2 of them. So that's it. Any questions towards me? Do you have
No
any
questions.
questions to me?
No questions.
If not, I will see you next week on Tuesday. Have a nice
see you.
day. Have a nice weekend.
The same to
Okay.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.